All right, everybody. I am live today right here on Resonant Essentials YouTube channel. It's been quite an ordeal in the past 2 weeks. And so I get this opportunity to stretch out and be here live. So if you'd like to tune in, please do. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you like what you hear here, whether I'm doing my podcast or anyone else's podcast, be sure to click the thumbs up for us so we can see how many people are actually learning and receiving this information. Well, I'm Brother Francis E. Revels Bay. I am the originator for my own podcast here, which is Clear Blue Radiance. And I'm here usually every Thursday to share some insight about things that I have learned from the spiritual and metaphysical world of my own life. And I always give information that clearly comes from there so that you know I'm talking about real things. Okay, so today's topic is quite a mouthful here. It is your life will transcend when you release yourself acting on negative thoughts and feelings. Is a womb giving birth to a new you. Well, before I even delve into that, I've been a spiritual counselor for 40 plus years now. I enjoy assisting and helping people like yourself gain greater clarity in your own life and to discover or redefine or even refine your purpose in life. And your purpose changes often. When your thoughts change, your feelings change, your outlook changes, and how you feel about life, then things begin to shift. Our lives can be very much like a barometer, right? Going up and down, up and down. And so you want to be able to have that experience. You also want to receive that experience, and you want to also know that you can actually make these changes in your own life. So let me get my mic here. I know that you all can hear me, but I want to get it a little closer to myself. So, in this particular topic, there are some things you need to be aware of. The first part of that title is release yourself from thinking and acting on negative thoughts and feelings. Well, many times we're unaware that we are collecting and accumulating too much energy embedded in our overall emotional and mental bodies. And if we're not paying attention, that same energy trickles down into our physical bodies. Well, if it's positive energy, it's going to come in and affect your physical body and your physical life. If it's negative, it's going to do the opposite. It's going to affect your physical body in a negative way, and your surroundings will get that fallout. Much of that energy can come from your interactions with various people in your life. Could be family members, could be friends, could be coworkers, could be your neighbors, and strangers. There's oftentimes you might go to the supermarket and you're feeling great. When you get inside the supermarket, there's some people that are not having a happy day. We don't know why they're not having a good or a happy day. We just know their day is not going too well for them. And often you see this energy kind of trickle down into your environment. Many times we find ourselves receiving this energy and we're on the receiving end because it's like your back is up against the wall or your mind could be someplace else and people are just piling on their reactions, their bad words, bad feelings, their doubts, their own illusionary thoughts onto your plate because they want you to fix it. So often you run into anger, stubborn behavior, heated arguments, disjointed feelings, gossip, and other painful words kind of thrown in your direction. Hey, good afternoon, Jackie. How you doing? And so people, we get bombarded by all of this, and we don't realize it starts to accumulate until we feel the stress. And where do we pick up the stress? We say, I don't feel so good today. I don't feel like going into work. I don't feel like exercising. I don't feel like eating properly for myself. Or you might get dragged down mentally and emotionally, and you start going, I feel like I got to lay down. Or you go to sleep, and you wake up, and you don't feel like getting out of bed. Why? Because you feel all this weight on the brain. We're constantly analyzing and overanalyzing at times. So let me get a sip of water. So we're constantly overanalyzing things that are going on in our life. And we're constantly being affected by others. Sometimes people see you being gentle, see you being kind all the time. And there's some people can't believe that you can be like that all the time. And so sometimes opposites attract. Your energy is up high, someone energy is down low. They more than likely will attract. Okay. You have to work sometimes a little harder to make like minds meet, like bodies of energy meet. Okay, because both of you got to go through a lot of staticky energy around you in order to like hook up, right? And so sometimes we have people around us. Now, some of the people around us, they don't really think they're affecting you in some kind of way. They don't think they're bothering you in some kind of way. Often they may not even realize that they're doing that. In other words, people might be very busy at getting very upset over something that maybe they're some kind of position that they're in that they can't get out of right now. And so that person is like, they're overwhelmed, right? And they're constantly trying to figure their way out of a situation. Maybe things aren't just working at the moment for them, so they can rise above those negative situations, and they fall into putting forth negative behavior. And often, when that occurs in our life, or we run across someone who's going through that, it somehow affects you. I remember, working, we all do. Here I am in my 70s, so I got a lot of life's experiences now to talk about. But I remember one time I worked at a electronics place that sold radio and TV parts, also parts for radios. What is those? There was a company called Grundig that made these special shortwave radios. They had parts for that, but they also had parts for Lockheed, Air Force Base, all these places. We had Lake Success that we supplied. We had Bethpage that we supply. There was certain bases and things there on Long Island that bought from this particular company at the time. And it was a company that the guy that owned the company, he knew my dad because he used to buy stuff from my father, but he also was a customer of my father because my father and mom ran one of those mom and pop shops for over 40 years, a radio and TV business. So my dad was out on his property. Guy's a very wealthy guy. But I remember there was an elder guy and his wife. The elder guy was like the maintenance man, the janitor of the place, and his wife worked on one of the assembly lines for a lot of these parts. But this guy, he was always thinking negatively. He was always, hey, Linda, he was always spreading gossip about everybody, even people he didn't even know. And this place had over 400 people, and I was one of those 401 people working there. And he would just spread gossip out of nowhere. He would create it and then spread it just to get a reaction out of people. And after a while, people saw him as someone that became a huge problem for everybody else because he was the one that was spreading the rumors. If he saw someone that was very positive, minding their own business, out maybe sitting out in the little park garden that this facility had outside, eating their lunch, oh God, he would haunt them, stalk them. And next thing you know, the next day, if he saw them out there, he was right behind them, bothering them, as if he was hired to do that. And the only reason why they didn't let him go, because they realized he was very good at fixing things all over the place as a maintenance guy. He can do the lights, he can do whatever. And sometimes they would send him someone from a temp agency to assist him. And he would complain about that guy. I mean, people who are really good at what they're doing to assist them, and they really just went to the boss and said, "Look, I know this is my second day, and I'm a temp agent, here, but I can't work with this man. He complains about everything. In fact, if the guy fixed something, the temp guy fixed, he would go behind it and unfix it just to get the guy in trouble." So I bring this up that there are some people, they are drama kings and drama queens. And they're always looking for other people to be their victims. There are people that play the role of a victim, that have a victim personality. That's something that they throw out there. They have a victim behavior. Somebody's always doing something to them. Someone is always disrespecting them. Someone is always pushing them. And if you're ever around them, you notice that's not really happening. It is what they perceive or what they choose to receive or choose to turn it around, stir the soup. When you run into people who have this drama going on in their lives all the time or seeking to create the drama with you, then you got to peel away. Not wean away, peel away. Because if you don't, it affects you. You wind up getting a headache. You wind up having stomach aches. You wind up having sore joints, aches and pains. You feel emotionally and mentally drained. I know many of us have felt that. Why? Because we happen to be sensitive to people. We are naturally sensitive people. We can feel what someone else is going through, but we have to learn how to shield that energy. And I know that there are many people that say, well, your words, just stated in your words, it takes more than your words. And actually, your words have to create an image within your mind. And the mind is all your mental faculties. You got to be able to see that inner image with your third eye, as we say, your inner eye. You got to be able to feel that you got the white picket fence up around you. You got to feel that in your heart center. Your body has to feel that. So many times, people are foraging through the surroundings, creating drama, looking for gossip, or creating the gossip. When you have somebody around you that creates gossip, or if you've been in that position yourself where you once did that, that means that person or yourself was seeking what we call negative attention. You want attention, but in other words, you want somebody to tell you to stop. You want somebody to get angry at you. And there are people that live their lives just like that. You might say that they are the hoarders of negative activity and negative thought. Their mind is like a hoarder, is cluttered with negative thinking. Their emotional body is cluttered with negative feelings. And they don't know how to get rid of that energy. In martial arts, they call it Sha, SHA. That's what they call negative chi, Sha. But if you got good chi, it's CHI. It's high vibrational energy. Now, we ourselves may not have remembered to stay clear of negative personalities. One of the things that people do when they're expressing negativity around you is they strive to make you feel. They strive to make you feel that you created it for them. I'll say that again. There are people who will sit back and observe people like ourselves who are sensitive, and because they want a negative reaction from you, or they want to feel that they are the victim, they will say, you're the one that's doing it. You're the one that's making them feel such and such. Even though you go to bed like everybody else, you wake up like everybody else, you brush your teeth, take a shower, take a bath, whatever you need to do, and you're by yourself. But because sometimes if people don't see you for a long time, they're trying to stalk that energy and deposit that energy. If you're walking around and you're very centered as much as you can be, they're picking on your centeredness. They're picking on your tranquility. Like, how can you maintain that? And they may not even been in touch with you for weeks on end, months on end, years on end. I have a person, friend back east, which I stay disconnected from now, and she does that. She just can't maintain peace for herself, around herself. And when she sees it, she can't believe that's for her, that she actually created it or walked into an environment that expressed it. So what does she do? She starts looking for drama, then she creates the drama. And if people that she comes in touch with aren't centered or grounded with themselves, they wound up becoming their, they become a, they wind up becoming a victim to her. She has victimized them. So here's the remedy, though, because this is very important. The remedy is in the title. The title of this podcast is Your Life Will Transcend, meaning it will rise above, it will change when you release yourself from thinking and acting on negative thoughts and feelings, whether it's someone else's or your own. Okay. But here's how your life will transcend. You will recognize that your heart is a womb giving birth to a new you. So, what scientists have proven is that the heart radiates more energy than the physical brain. Let me say that again. Scientists have already, in the last 20, 30 years, certain scientists have been testing and hooking up people to be the guinea pigs under the electrodes and do something with around the heart, right? On the lines connected to the heart. They have seen that the person's heart radiates more energy than their physical brain. Well, guess what? Metaphysicians and ancient elders know this to be true. Why? Especially the ancient elders. They grow up with a tradition that they, as people, are connected to the land. And it doesn't matter what part of the world you see these indigenous people and your ancestors as elders who had to live on farms, lived in the country, didn't have too much electronics rolling around them. Maybe they just had a TV, a simple TV, and a simple radio. And that was enough. So, because they only had those two simple things around them, they had what? Less of that EMF activity rolling around on their property. They lived far away from radio towers, cell phone towers, electrical wires. Therefore, when you saw them, they were happier, more centered, more grounded. So were the children and grandchildren. So were the animals. Because everything gets affected by negativity, but everything gets affected by positivity as well. So our ancestors communicated with Mother Nature all the time. People say, well, you need to practice earthing. You can practice earthing, just which is grounding, which is putting your bare feet on the ground, but make sure it's not polluted. There's a lot of places where residue of oil from trucks and cars is in that soil, chemicals in the soil. There's a certain degree of pollution in water when it rains in the soil. Animals popping through, wild animals defecating on your property. Then it rains and it gets into the soil. So there's many things that's in there, pulverized glass, ashes from cigarettes, and you name it, is in there. Garbage, it's in there. It's in the soil. It's right at the top, and you're walking on it. So make sure if you're going to practice grounding, make sure your area doesn't have no fertilizer, up there on the top of the surface, no residue of that, because you were born in a time like your ancestors were, where you had more calloused feet. I don't have calloused feet. I remember growing up with friends whose cousins would come up from the South. They could take their shoes and their socks off and race people down up and down the street. Now I was like, I would take my shoes, my sneakers off of my socks, and take 2 steps because it's hot. But when I looked at their cousins' soles of the feet, they were well calloused. I mean callous, rough feet. They could handle it. They were always running barefooted on dirt and things. Your feet get built up. But even with the calluses, I've learned you got over 1,000 pores, tiny pores or more, in the soles of your feet, in the toes, crevices of your toes. And it's still pulling up energy, going directly into your body and your bloodstream. Here's something else. Elders, medicine men and women will always speak into the plants. Why? Because they could feel the energy of the plants. They could feel the beings of the plants. And they were communicating with them. And they were being told what to do. They could tell a certain plant is poisonous and another one isn't. That's just over interacting 10,000s of times and things being passed along from the shamans and elders to the people in the community. Well, here's something else. Since we now know that the heart radiates more energy than the brain, your heart is the first organ formed as a fetus, not the brain. It's the heart. After the heart comes the brain. This is good to know. Well, the ancient Egyptians, their philosophies in the scrolls, there was several scrolls. One is something of the dead, and what it just means was it talked about the philosophy of giving in to the old, giving into the physical world to have a relationship with the divine world. And so one of their deities, 2 of their deities, were known for putting the heart and the brain on a scale. That was the lore, the heart and the brain on a scale. And if the brain was weightier than the heart, it means that that person's heart was light as a feather and would go on into the ethers. That's what they were talking about. In other words, they were transcending. But if that heart was heavier than the brain, well, they go in what they call the netherworld, a lower world. But here's the thing we need to understand from that. because it makes sense. You ever heard the phrase, you got to lighten your load? Don't take on too much physical responsibilities and obligations. Don't take on too much thinking, over analyzing, too many feelings, because you burn yourself out. Then your body is not good for carrying you along your path, along your journey. So you want to be able to develop more peace and harmony for yourself. And the way you do that is to serve yourself, self love, compassion, understanding, grace. Grace is always there. It's always present, just like these other expressions are around us. Our hearts carry within them an etheric pineal gland sitting in there. And from your heart, you're able to see into the world, right? You'll be able to see into other dimensions. So you become this very strong, energetic, empathic person, very strong, sensitive person, or as I like to say, spiritual, sentient being. BEING, spiritual, sentient being. Let me type that in here, okay? Just before I say anything else. Okay, that's what we are. We are spiritual, sentient beings. We're sensitive to our environments. We're sensitive to sound that we hear around us. We're sensitive to sound and energy embedded in words, phrases, actions, thoughts, behaviors. We are truly energy people, just like animals and snakes, spiders, grandmother spiders, the big ones. Trees, flowers, worms, ants, bees, grasshoppers, butterflies, regular flies, dragonflies. Everything can sense, everything has a consciousness connected to it. Everything is communicating with each other. But certain creatures, a lot of those creatures that I have mentioned, live in the moment. They don't go out worrying about being captured by their exact opposite, their enemy, so to speak. They move about throughout the forest, throughout the lands, and they only seek food when they're hungry, when their cubs are hungry. The fathers go out, seek, and bring back food. And it happens through the strata of life in nature all the time. But they're not bringing negativity. They're not looking for negativity. They're just living in the moment. And that's what we have to begin to remember. We must begin to remember that it is all right to live in the present moment. Our hearts are the spiritual metaphysical womb. Our hearts are a spiritual and metaphysical womb that is always giving birth to a new reality, to a new life, to a new you. This happens moment to moment. Everything that we're striving to do, we're striving to achieve a better life where we feel the increases of unconditional love, compassion, understanding, greater well being, better health into our bodies. But what do we have to release? We have to continue to learn how to release from ourselves negative thoughts, feelings, doubts, and illusionary thinking. Now, we come across ourselves if we get too deeply involved, we're not feeling well, and we see ourselves doing what? Falling into old habits, old ways of thinking, old behavioral patterns, constantly doing something over and over and over. And while we're busy doing it over and over and over, we are constantly repeating the same scenario. So we have to learn how to do what? We have to learn how to shift our awareness into thinking positively, feeling positively about ourselves, stating positive statements about our environment, and do our best to refrain from thinking negatively. Even if something happened to us, we have to kind of train ourselves to not hold on to it as a grudge. We only learn when our health is going down, then we realize, oh, we got to stop. This is why people who practice holistic health, people who have gone to indigenous people who are around on the planet sharing their positive medicinal things with us, they'll always ask you how you doing. They always will ask you how's your job if you work it, or how's your family. And as time goes on, you're able to create a history, a folder where they see a lot of your illnesses are stress induced, coming from bad associations, bad people, quote unquote bad people. In other words, people you don't necessarily harmonize or get along with, and it's eating away at you. We have to shift our awareness to stay in the present moment, stay focused on ourselves in the present moment, and be positive, and stop taking on the world. Many people want to be out and about and take on the world. They want to be here and there and everywhere when what? They're supposed to just be home. We're not meant to be all over the place. We're just meant to stay home. You don't have to be everywhere, seeing with everything. Yeah, you might want to go out and have some fun. Hey, but there's a reason why you got a TV set. There's a reason why you got a stereo. There's a reason why you got a computer. Put on some positive music. Maybe you love listening to classical music. Maybe you like listening to jazz. Maybe you like listening to other kinds of music, but you need to listen to it. You need to find some comedy on your TV set and on your radio and on your laptop. Somewhere, find some comedy that will make you laugh. Or do some reading that will make you feel better about life. But you got to do something. You just can't remain in the moment where you're not allowing yourself to feel better, be better, do better, act better. Or as the youth always say, sometimes you got to learn how to do what? Stay in your lane. What does that mean? When you are staying in your lane, you're staying in places that are familiar, but you're staying in a zone where you are allowing yourself to feel better. Now, true, there's a lot of life coaches out there who will say, hey, you got to get out of that rut. Hey, you can't do everything every day. Well, guess what? They're not living your life, right? They have good things to say, but they're not living your life. And some of them have not lived a life. Some of them haven't had enough ups and downs. And some have. So I'm not going to dispute and say they haven't. Some have gone through some really sporadic ups and downs in their life. But what really matters is finding you, finding what you can do, finding love inside yourself, for yourself, being responsible for your own behavior, learning to earn the right to have a smile on your face because you're being true to yourself. You don't have to be everywhere. No, you don't. You don't have to be anywhere, really. Right now in our lives, time is speeding up so fast. Here, look, it's July the 13th. We're in the seventh month already within this year of 2023. 7 months ago, we were saying Happy New Year. 8 months ago, you're celebrating Christmas and other holidays. 9 months ago, you were doing what? Celebrating Thanksgiving, Halloween, 10 months ago. You're doing a lot of things, but life keeps moving on. Life keeps changing. And if you're not working on yourself, meaning how you respond, how you think about a response, how you carry yourself, and again, it's all about self love. If you're not working on you, taking your time, working on you, releasing yourself of old burdens and behavioral patterns, old ways of thinking, if you're not getting rid of the victim mentality that you may have, if you're not getting rid of or exploring and realizing maybe you're not a victim, maybe you're someone that they call a narcissist, a narcissistic person. And a narcissistic person is the one who will make everybody else think that they are the victims when they're the ones victimizing everybody else. Always turning it around, making it look like it's them. They're the victim. You have to decide how you want your life to be. You have to decide what kind of people are going to be in your life. You have to decide everything. So you have to start looking at yourself differently. I'll put that little short quote that the late Michael Jackson had in his tune. Take a look at yourself and change. He called the tune Man in the Mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror. All you see is yourself and make the change. Give yourself a pep talk every day. Don't focus on what you're not going to do. Focus on what is necessary for you to do so that you can see change happen in your life. That's my message for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Make any extra comments you need to make before I sign out of here. If you're in the Albuquerque area in the state of New Mexico, the county is Bernalillo. I'm surprised I remember the county. But if you're somewhere near Resident Essentials located at 3107 Eubank Boulevard Northeast, inside of the Scottsdale Shopping Village, you should stop by. Resident Essentials is usually open at about 10 a.m. Tuesday right through Friday. Sometime, depending on which practitioner is there, we have different people there. And sometimes we got two people there. The place is owned by Michelle Vidal, and it's a metaphysical and esoteric school. So you can come there and learn classes and courses for a very good price range. I'm there every Saturday from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for just $10, sharing my Creative Pathwork meditation series with all in attendance. So far, we've been having a pretty nice crew coming. I'm averaging about 7 to 8 people, not counting myself or Michelle sitting in the circle. We got about 8 or 9 people popping up. Just $10. I take cash, debit, or credit card. And I might take your check, personal check. Well, look, there's so many things there. All you got to do is go to our website, www.resonantessentials. That's RESONANT ESSENTIALS.com. And the website comes up and has a calendar right there. If you want to know what's going on, you can look right at the calendar and see what's going on. Okay. You can see what's going on the weekends. We have some pretty good topics. Sometimes every second Saturday, we have IONS group here out of Albuquerque. That's the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And they have speakers that come. And just for a donation, whatever you want to give as a cash donation to the center and the speakers. And excellent topics. Excellent topics. So you and guess what? We have a psychic fair, psychic and healing fair, every second Sunday of the month. Admission is free, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Right now, we're still just charging $1 a minute for 20 minutes. You know, you can do 10 minutes, you can do 15 minutes, that's $15. Price might change though come September. Okay. But you'll still be able to get something and do and receive good information. I usually do spiritual drawings called Celestial I Am drawings. $30, 30 minutes, and you get a reading at the same time. So there's many of us in there that are capable and love helping people like yourself. Oh, thank you, Linda. I'm going to say it in Spanish too. Gracias. Or French. Merci beaucoup. So you want to enjoy yourself, or you want to come and just introduce yourself to the different readers or practitioners that are there. Usually on, I think it's the second or the third Wednesday, she has something called a shindig, metaphysical shindig, something like that. And just for $5 at about, I think about 5:30, 6 o'clock, you can go in there and there'll be a practitioner either connected to the center or someone in the greater circle connected to Resonant Essentials, and you could learn a specific topic, or the person will explain some things. Also, just check on practitioners. You'll see the names of the practitioners. You click on the name, and information comes up about the practitioner and the days of the week that that person is there with their phone number. All you got to do is call, make an appointment. There's also walk ins. So the center is usually open 10 to 5 or 10 to 6. We have a new practitioner there by the name of Liliana Arondon. And Liliana Rondon has a service or a business called Jaguarina Apothecary. Ooh, she's got some nice stuff going on in that apothecary. And one of the things that's cool, Liliana is a very nice person. She understands what she's doing and the service that she's given to the public. She's been doing it for a very long time. If you're there out here in Albuquerque, I believe it will be Saturday, July the 22nd, from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. She's going to talk about how to empower salt baths, and it's limited seating. I think she's only going to take 10 people if you're here out in this area. So you need to go on the website and see what's cooking. Okay. I want you to be aware of that. There's a lot of things going on, and we're here to help a lot of people. I'm going to sign off now. I'm Brother Francis E. Revels Bay. I am the host for Clear Blue Radiance, usually here every Thursday at 1 p.m. or 1:30 p.m., depending on technology. And I like to make sure that people can get this information. If you need to be in touch and find out what I'm doing, go to my website, www.circleofgrace with the number one at the end, .us, and then put a single / after US, so it doesn't take you all over the internet. You can go. I'm in the middle of my second course. Whew, it was powerful last night. Ooh, a lot of energy was cooking. That was on my selenite course. But I have a third course coming up next Thursday night. My third course is a 6-week course. Every Thursday night out here it's 6 p.m. Mountain Time. on the Eastern time zone, it is 8 p.m. for about 90 minutes. It's based on my book, Decree and It Shall Be. The course is called 5 Point Creative Pathwork Meditation System. So go to my website. You can just type into YouTube search bar the at symbol and then circle of grace, capital C, circle, capital, circle of grace, so capital C and capital G with the number one at the end takes you right to my site, and it'll take you right to the page. If you want to get more information about what I'm doing online in terms of my courses, then you need to email me at iam.circleofgrace with the number one at the end at gmail.com. That's iam.circleofgrace1 at gmail.com. We got a lot of things going on, a lot of work to be done here on the planet. I look forward to helping and serving you as well. My grace is your grace. Until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing as we're alive and well in the age of remembrance. I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care of yourself.